Hi readers, welcome back to Reading with Kirsty. I hope you're doing well. In today's Read Aloud, a young boy's father goes overseas to fight in a war. While his father is away, the young boy tries to come up with a great birthday surprise while overcoming his fear. To find out what happens, you need to get comfortable and join me for this Read Aloud, Pennies in a Jar. The day Dad went away to war, I cried. He hugged me and told me to be brave, but I was afraid of so many things, like how Mom and I had to take care of things by ourselves now, and the loud noises in our neighborhood when they tested the air raid sirens, and thinking about Dad listening to bombs and guns. I was even afraid of everyday things, especially the street horses. We used to sit on the front porch steps, me and Dad. Now, I sat there by myself and counted the pennies in my green glass jar. Dad's birthday was coming up. I was saving to buy him a present. Something special, just for me. Mom said she would mail my present overseas with the socks she was knitting. I heard the ragman holler out from a block away. Lickety-split, I tore into the house and grabbed the bundle of newspapers from the pantry. Then I slammed back through the screen door, bang, and grunted the newspapers out to the curb. A street horse named Josephina was pulling the rag wagon down her street. The ragman sat high in a wooden seat. Rags! Clop the clop. Newspapers! Rags! Clop the clop. Whoa up! The ragman called when he saw my bundle of papers. He dropped a heavy iron disc on the pavement. Thonk! So that Josephina wouldn't walk off. It looked like the horse stopper was the anchor and Josephina was the ship. The heavy smell of horse filled up my nose and mouth. Josephina swung her head around and looked straight at me. Her teeth were as big as piano keys. I jumped back. Had Josephina ever bitten anyone? My dad got bitten by a horse once when he was a kid. He had a moon-shaped scar in his shoulder. Horses are like people, son, he said. Sometimes you meet a real stinker, but most of them are good. The ragman threw my newspapers into the back of the wagon. Every bit helps, he said. For the war effort. Got any scrap iron? It's good for building ships and airplanes. I thought about the iron horseshoe over our back door. Dad nailed it up there to look like a U. That way, it will catch good luck and hold it in, Dad said. If you hang it upside down, all the good luck might fall out. It wasn't a good idea to sell a lucky horseshoe. I wouldn't want any bad luck to keep my dad from coming home from the war. Only the newspapers, I told the ragman, keeping my eye on his horse. She gave a loud snort, ready to move on. You want to feed her a carrot? The ragman asked. I took a step back and shook my head. Not today, I said. The man shrugged. Well, maybe next time. I went back to the front porch and counted my pennies all over again, dropping them back into my green glass jar. Bleak, bleak, bleak. 56. Tuesdays and Fridays were milk days. Mr. Lacey was our milkman. His street horse was named Nell. Good morning to you, Mr. Lacey called out when Nell stopped in front of our house. I watched Mr. Lacey line up 3 bottles of milk on our porch. He put her 3 empty bottles into his wire basket. Can I carry those for you, Mr. Lacey? I asked. Chink-a-chink-a-chink, the bottles and basket bumped against my leg. When Nell saw Mr. Lacey, she nickered and threw her head up and down. She stamped her foot. I made a fast stop at the edge of the sidewalk. My dad's not afraid of horses, I blurted out. He grew up on a farm. Mr. Lacey looked at me kind of funny. Then he nodded and gave me a penny for helping. Nell was already moving to the next house. Dad said that after he got bitten, he never wanted to go near a horse again, but Grandpa needed him to help with the chores. If something is important enough, you just have to do it, Dad told me, even if you're scared. Once a week, the garbage wagon came by. It was pulled by Billy and Bailey, the biggest street horses of all. They had feet as big and heavy as buckets filled with iron. Whoa, Albert called, holding the reins. 2 other men carried canvas baskets on their shoulders to collect the garbage. They scooped it up and dumped it into the open wagon. If my dad was here, he could drive that team, I called to Albert. He used to drive my grandpa's hay wagon. I rode on the back of it once. Want to ride in the back of this wagon? Albert asked, chuckling. I held my nose and shook my head. On a hot summer day, the garbage wagon smelled worse than an army of skunks. No thanks. Albert just laughed again. Billy and Bailey suddenly shook themselves. Their traces and braces jingled and jumped. I jumped too and ran back to the porch. I was glad when the garbage wagon was gone. That afternoon, I sat on the porch step writing a letter. Dad, I wish you could come home, I began. If you were here. I closed my eyes and thought about 100 things I wanted to tell my dad. I didn't know how to sort them all out. A soft snort made me open my eyes. On the sidewalk right in front of my house stood a man with a pony. The pony had a saddle on his back. His mane and tail shimmered in the sun. Hey kid, the man called out. You want to ride this here pony? Me? I asked. A large camera hung around the man's neck. I'll take pictures of you on the pony, he said. Only 50 cents. I didn't want to tell the man I was afraid. What's the pony's name? I asked. His name is Freedom. Freedom, I whispered. Dad went away to the war to fight for freedom. Dad would like that name. If my dad were here, I started to say. But my dad wasn't here. I shook my head. No thanks, mister. I watched a man and his pony walk away. A sadness as big as a melon filled up the inside of me. What would Dad think if he saw me now? And then I remembered what he had said. If something is important enough, you just have to do it. That was when I knew exactly what kind of special birthday present I wanted to buy for Dad with the pennies in my green glass jar. And I knew it was something important. Hey, mister, I shouted. Hey, mister, come back. I ran down the sidewalk after him, my heart pounding. I do want my picture taken with Freedom. The photographer stopped and opened his canvas bag. He pulled out a soft leather vest trimmed with fringes. He slipped it on me and I felt its weight against my shoulders and back. Then he plopped a real cowboy hat on my head. It looked real anyway. My knees felt like noodles, but I tried as hard as I could to be brave. The man helped me onto the saddle. It was slippery smooth. I started to slide and my heart punched against my ribs. I was going to fall off this horse. Hold on with your knees, kid, the photographer said. I squeezed them tight as he began leading Freedom back toward my house. I swayed back and forth in the saddle, but I didn't slip again. I was riding a horse. It was a small one, but it still counted. My mom came out on the porch as Freedom and I walked up. Mom, look, I'm riding a horse, I yelled. Then I laughed right out loud. Guess I don't have to tell you to smile, the man said behind the camera. Click! The photographer helped me down from Freedom's back, and I gave the pony a goodbye pat. Then I ran to get my green glass jar and counted out 50 pennies. You're gonna have one humdinger of a picture, the man told me. Dear Dad, here's a special birthday present just for me. The pony's name is Freedom. And guess what? Remember the ragman's horse with the big teeth? Yesterday, I fed her a carrot. She even slobbered on my hand. You don't have to worry about anything here at home, Dad. I've taken care of things. P.S. Isn't this picture a real humdinger? The end. Well, readers, I hope you enjoyed that read aloud of Pennies in a Jar. Inspiration from his father overseas, the young boy was able to overcome his fear and do something important for his dad. He was able to give him a pretty sweet gift after all. Thanks for watching, and I can't wait to see you next time on our next read aloud on Reading with Christy. See you later.